I will speak about generalized Gibbs states which are built with the moment map of a Hamiltonian action. This is the contents of my talk. I begin by a short history of statistical mechanics in which I will recall the definition of a Gibbs state, which is built with the Hamiltonian of a vector field defined on a symplectic manifold. This notion was first introduced by Josiah Willard Gibbs. He defined Gibbs states, which are statistical states stationary in time, considered by physicists as states of thermodynamic equilibrium. The French mathematician and physicist Souriau proposed, first in a paper, then in his book, a generalization of Gibbs states in which the Hamiltonian, which is a moment map of the one-dimensional group of translations in time, is replaced by the moment map of a symplectic action of a general connected Lie group on a symplectic manifold. This moment map takes its value in the dual of the group's Lie algebra, and it is equivariant with the action of the Lie group on the symplectic manifold and an affine action on the dual of its Lie algebra, whose linear part is the coadjoint action. In several later papers, he developed these concepts and considered their possible applications in physics and in cosmology. A partial translation in English of this paper, made by Frédéric Barbaresco, is available. In fact, this generalization was already proposed by Gibbs in chapter 4 of his book, published in 1902, page 44 of the version available on the site of Project Gutenberg, and page 39 of the scan of the original edition. He shortly considered Gibbs states built with a moment map of the product of the one-dimensional group of translation in time and the three-dimensional group of rotation in space. He explained that their possible use in physics is the studio systems contained in a rotating vessel, and even refers to a paper by Maxwell published in 1878 on this subject. This group is precisely the group used by Souriau in his works in cosmology, in which he explains that the planetary systems observed in the universe are approximate thermodynamic equilibrium. In this domain, Souriau main merit do not lie, in my opinion, in the consideration of Gibbs states for the Hamiltonian action of a Lie group, but rather in the use of the manifold of motions of a Hamiltonian system instead of the use of its phase space, and his introduction under the name of Maxwell's principle of the idea that a symplectic structure should exist on the manifold of motions of systems encountered as well in classical mechanics as in relativistic physics. I will present the properties of these generalized Gibbs states, discuss several examples, including some cases in which generalized Gibbs states do exist on orbits of some affine actions of the considered Lie group, on the dual of its Lie algebra, although no generalized Gibbs state can exist on the coadjunct orbits themselves. I begin by this short history of statistical mechanics. In the book Hydrodynamica, published in 1738, the Swiss medical doctor, physicist, and mathematician Daniel Bernoulli suggested that fluids, gases, as well as liquids, are made of a very large number of moving particles. He explained that the pressure in the fluid is the result of collisions of the moving particles against the walls of the vessel in which it is contained, or against the probe which measures the pressure. In the book Réflexions sur la puissance motrice du feu et sur les machines propres à développer cette puissance, published in 1824, the French physicist and engineer Sadi Carnot clearly explained that any engine which transforms heat into mechanical work must use both a heat source at some temperature and a heat sink at a lower temperature, and has a maximal efficiency fixed solely by the temperature of the heat source and sink, between which heat is transferred. This assertion is a formulation, maybe a little imprecise, of the second principle of thermodynamics. Unfortunately, Sadi Carnot died at the age of 36, and his work was forgotten. During the 19th century, Bernoulli's idea, which states that gases are made of moving particles, was considered as plausible only by a very small number of scientists, including the German physicist Rudolf Clausius, the Scotch physicist and mathematician James Clerk Maxwell, and the Austrian physicist Ludwig Eduardo Boltzmann. Clausius recognized the importance of Sadi Carnot's idea and made these ideas better known. He discovered the concept of entropy. He chose its name to emphasize its close relation with the concept of energy, using a Greek word which means something about transformation. Probably he thought about transformations of heat in mechanical work and vice versa. He gave a very precise formulation of the first and second principle of thermodynamics, still in use today. Clausius began the development of the domain of physics today called kinetic theory of gases, and among other important discoveries, introduced the concept of mean free path of a particle in a gas. Maxwell and Boltzmann, in parallel but independently, continued the development of kinetic theory of gases. One of their aims was to deduce the macroscopic quantities such as pressure, temperature, and other thermodynamic functions from the equations which govern the motions of particles. In 1866, Maxwell obtained a formula, the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution, which gives the velocity of the various particles in a gas in thermodynamic equilibrium. For a gas not in thermodynamic equilibrium, an evolution equation from the probability distribution of kinematical states of moving particles was obtained by Boltzmann in 1872. Boltzmann obtained this famous equation, which today is called the Boltzmann equation, by using probabilistic arguments about the way in which collision between particles can occur. Boltzmann introduced a quantity denoted by the letter Boltzmann eta, which, as a function of time, always monotonically decrease. Boltzmann's H eta function is now identified with the opposite of the entropy of the gas. Using the works of his predecessors, Gibbs laid the foundations of a new branch of theoretical physics, which he called statistical mechanics. He defined the concept of statistical state of a mechanical system and began to use statistical mechanics for the study of macroscopic properties of all material bodies, solids as well as liquids and gases. In the first half of the 20th century, scientists understood that the motions of molecules in a material body do not perfectly obey Newton's law of classical mechanics, and that the laws of quantum mechanics should be used instead. Quantum statistical mechanics was developed, but most concepts introduced by Gibbs for classical quantum mechanics are still valid in quantum statistical mechanics with some necessary adaptation. For example, the definition of entropy of a statistical state in quantum statistical mechanics was obtained by John von Neumann and uses the trace of an expression involving the matrix density of a statistical state instead of the opposite of the Boltzmann eta function used in classical statistical mechanics. Now I will indicate the main ideas contained in Gibbs' statistical mechanics. He considered all material bodies are made of a very large number of small particles, and that the equations which govern the motion of these particles are those of classical mechanics. For a conservative mechanical system, they can be written in the framework of symplectic geometry. On a symplectic manifold, there is a smooth Hamiltonian, which is a smooth function. It determines a Hamiltonian vector field, and every possible motion of the mechanical system is a maximal solution of the differential equation determined by this vector field. It is completely determined by its value at any initial time. The dimension of the manifold M is extremely large, at least 6 times the number of particles, and the initial state is never perfectly known. For these reasons, Gibbs introduced the concept of a statistical state. It is a probability measure on the Borel sigma algebra of the manifold. That means that instead of looking at a single initial position of the system, Gibbs considers simultaneously a large number and even an infinite number of possible motions whose position in the initial time are distributed according to a probability law. And using the differential equation which govern the motion, at any other time t1, at which all these motions still exist, one can deduce the probability law of the position of the particles. In fact, the Borel sigma algebra of a symplectic manifold is endowed with a unique positive measure, the Liouville measure denoted by lambda omega, which is given by the following formula in a canonical chart. And Gibbs mainly considered states which can be defined by a density of probability density. Of course, this probability density must be such that the integral on n is always equal to 1. And then with this probability density, one can define the mean value of any function defined, any integrable function defined on the manifold M. And the function most important is the entropy, which is the mean value of minus the logarithm of the density of probability. This definition was inspired by Boltzmann H function, but it has some strange comportment because when rho is very large at some points, it can become negative, or in contrary to Shannon entropy, which is always positive. And one can define the Gibbs state built with the Hamiltonian. It is the statistical state of the density is defined by this expression in which there is the exponential of the Hamiltonian. And the real beta must be such that the integral which defines P of beta is normally convergent. It means that the theorem of derivation of a function defined by an integral can be applied because there is a dominating function. The function beta, which associates P of beta to beta, defined on the subset made by the reals such that the integral is normally convergent, is called the partition function. It has some important properties which are indicated in this proposition. A Gibbs state is a stationary state. The flow of the Hamiltonian vector field leaves it unchanged. And moreover, it has an interesting property for this density. The entropy is maximal among all probability densities which have the same mean value of the Hamiltonian. For these reasons, Gibbs states built with the Hamiltonian are considered in physics as states of thermodynamic equilibrium. The real beta is related to the absolute temperature, T by this formula in which K is a constant called the Boltzmann constant. A thermodynamic function is a function which depends on the state of T, in other words, of the considered Gibbs state, and it may depend also of various quantities on which the mechanical system depends. all thermodynamic functions can be expressed in terms of the partition function and its partial derivative. The most important are the energy and the entropy, which are defined by this. The energy is the mean value of the Hamiltonian, and the entropy is the entropy of the probability distribution of the Gibbs state. One can easily prove that the entropy of a statistical state whose evolution with time is described by the flow of a Hamiltonian vector field with a Hamiltonian which does not directly depend on time remains constant. Therefore, classical Gibbs statistical mechanics is unable to account for the evolution of the state towards thermodynamic equilibrium. On the contrary, the Boltzmann eta function, which is nothing else than the opposite of the entropy, is always monotonously decreasing with time. So there is something more or less unsatisfactory in classical statistical mechanics. The reason of the more satisfying behavior of Boltzmann equation is that it is not a differential equation because it involves a collision operator built with probability considerations about the way in which collision between particles occur. Many physicists think that quantum statistical mechanics is much more satisfying than classical Gibbs statistical mechanics, since by nature quantum mechanics is already statistical. However, one may observe that in quantum mechanics, the evolution of a statistical state is governed by a perfectly deterministic equation as long as no measure concerning this state is made. And for highly organized complex systems, such as living creatures, this leads to very disturbing paradoxes. For example, the Schrödinger cat, which simultaneously is living and dead. I think that the present state of physics does not answer all the questions about the evolution of the material world, and that many new discoveries are to be found. Recent papers by Misha Gromov, Pierre Baudot, and Daniel Benquin present deep new views on the concept of entropy, and there is still work to be done and discovery to be made. In what follow, I will speak on generalized Gibbs states, so I consider a Hamiltonian action on the left of a Lie group on a connected symplectic manifold with a moment map, which takes its value in the dual of the Lie algebra. A generalized temperature is an element of the Lie algebra for which the G integral is normally convergent. It is exactly the same definition as the beta in classical statistical mechanics. But now beta is a vector in a Lie algebra instead of a scalar. And the subset of generalized temperature when it is not empty, the function P defined on it is still called the partition function. For each generalized temperature, the Gibbs state is defined by the formula. It is the mean value of it given by this formula. It has a density in which involves the coupling of the momentum map with beta. And one can prove that the set of generalized temperature does not depend of the choice of moment map. We can add a constant to the moment map, does not change the definition. And that when it is not empty, this set is an open convex subset of the Lie algebra, invariant by the adjoint axiom. The partition function is of class C infinity. This is not very surprising because the definition of generalized temperatures is made so that derivation under the integration sum is permitted, and so all what is defined with this are in also of infinitely differentiable. And then one can define the mean value of the momentum map, which is on the entropy, on the energy, the entropy, exactly as usual for the case in which the Gibbs state is defined with the Hamiltonian. And one can calculate the first derivative and then the higher order differential of these functions. And then we have the following proposition. The most important is that the entropy does not change when the partition, when the moment, when a constant is added to the moment map. And it has exactly, the entropy has exactly the same properties as in the case of Gibbs states defined with a Hamiltonian. It has ensured the maximality of the entropy. But there is a difference. It is that the Gibbs state indexed by an element of the Lie algebra, which is a generalized temperature, is not invariant under by the Hamiltonian action of the Lie group. However, it is invariant by the restriction to the one parameter subgroup generated by beta, by the element beta of its Lie algebra. And then one can define also a bilinear symmetric form which is non-negative, and when the action is effective, it is even a Riemannian metric on omega, and E.g. is a diffeomorphism of the state set of generalized temperature onto its image in the dual of the Lie algebra. Frédéric Barabaresco observed that the gamma is the Fisher-Rao metric, which is well known in statistics, and that it was first discovered by the French mathematician Maurice Fréchet. I recall that since the manifold M is assumed to be connected, there exists a symplectic cocycle associated to the moment map given by the given formula, which is only indicate that the moment map is not equivariant for the coadjoint action, but for the coadjoint action plus something which depends on G, which is this cocycle. And then we can prove also that for any generalized temperature, then the adjoint of beta is still in omega. In other words, the set of generalized temperatures, the union of adjoint of orbits. And this formula indicates the behavior of the functions with this. This is not surprising. We add a constant something to the. We have the mean value of adj beta is multiplied by J minus A. And the important thing is that the entropy is constant on the adjoint orbits. Now I will present some examples of Gibbs states, beginning by those which are defined on coadjoint orbits of the Lie group SO3 and SO2, built with the moment map of the coadjoint action of these groups. There exist on all coadjoint orbits, because these coadjoint orbits are spheres when the group is SO3, but only on some of the coadjoint orbits when the group is SO21. They are called the pseudospheres. Moreover, there are smooth diffeomorphisms of the pseudosphere onto the Poincaré disk and onto the Poincaré half plane. So one can obtain general Gibbs states on the Poincaré disk and on the Poincaré half plane, therefore simply by exchange of variables. I will discuss the existence of the generalized Gibbs states on coadjoint orbits of semi-direct products with R2 of the Lie groups SO2 and SO11, and on orbits of an affine action. First, maybe I will pass rapidly the coadjoint orbits of SO3 and SO21, because it is well-known properties. And in fact, all the discussion of this can be made on a single vector space F, because it can be identified both with the Lie algebra of the group and with its dual. And so it has a very rich structure in which there is a Lie algebra structure and a Lie Poisson structure. And then we have the singleton zero, qui est the only coadjoint, zero-dimensional coadjoint orbit. All other coadjoint orbits are two-dimensional. One can obtain easily the expression of the symplectic form on these orbits, and the expression of the Lie the Liouville measure, and then for the case SO2 all two-dimensional co-orbits are spheres, and there exist Gibbs states on this sphere, and I have calculated the partition function, the density of probability of the Gibbs states, and the energy and the entropy, which are given by this formula. When we have the group SO21, there are three kinds of two-dimensional orbit. We have their equation is x squared plus y squared minus z squared equal a constant, which may be negative, positive, or zero. And when it is negative, they are pseudospheres. Each is a sheet of a two-sheeted two-dimensional hyperboloid with the z-axis as revolution axis. And when the constant is zero, they are the two light cones. And when the constant is positive, it is a single-sheeted hyperboloid with the z-axis as revolution axis. And then one can look at the integral of this expression to see whether generalized Gibbs states can exist. And it can be found that when beta is negative, they can exist on the pseudospheres, and by similar calculation, that they do not exist or on light cones, nor on here I give the expression of the partition function, the density of probability of the Gibbs state, and the mean value of the Hamiltonian and of the entropy. This is for the pseudosphere, and for by similar calculation, and can prove that there are no Gibbs states on the one-sheeted hyperboloids, nor on the light cone. As a consequence, which has a little surprised me, is that no Gibbs states can exist on a symplectic plane. When I consider the plane R2 with coordinate u and v, with the symplectic form omega equal du dv, the linear symplectic group is the group of real two matrices with determinant 1, whose Lie algebra is isomorphic to the Lie algebra SO21. Its dual vector space is therefore identified with the vector space F once an unisible basis is chosen. And the moment map is such that the image of the moment map is the union of the singleton zero and the light cone C+. So no generalized Gibbs state can exist on the symplectic plane. Now I will speak about, I will give examples of coadjoint orbits on semi-direct products of a group which may be either SO2 or SO of 1, with the plane considered as an abelian Lie group with addition as composition law. When G equal SO2, it is the group of rotation, and here it is the group of Lorentz transformation for a two-dimensional space. The Lie group acts on R2 by the usual product of matrices, and the composition law and the inverse in the semi-direct product are given by this well-known formulae. I choose a canonical basis over two. The two families of translations parallel to the coordinate x's are two one-parameter subgroups of the direct product G times R2, whose infinitesimal generator are the two base vectors EU and EV. And there is a third one-parameter subgroup, which comes from the group G, which is the group of transformation with the matrix 0 minus 1, 1, 0, with theta equal 1, 1 geos C2, 0, minus 1 geos SO minus 1, 1. Therefore, we have a basis of the Lie algebra which has the following brackets of its elements. So it is easy to calculate the adjoint action. It is given by this formulae when G equal SO2 and SO11. In one time there are trigonometric lines, and in the other there are hyperbolic sinus and hyperbolic cosinus instead. And I have found a paper by Araton and Montaldi in which he observes, he makes a very nice description of the adjoint orbits. The adjoint orbit of the origin is the singleton, and the adjoint orbit of any other point in the plane is the circle through this point, centered on the origin, if G equals SE2, and the arc of hyperbola through this point contained in this plane when GS is SO1 minus. All other adjoint orbits are planes of equation R equal constant. Now for the coadjoint action, we choose the dual basis for the dual of the Lie algebra, and the coadjoint action is given by this formulae. And the coadjoint orbits were also well described by Montaldi and Araton. For any element in R, the coadjoint point of the point L R0 epsilon R on the axis R is a singleton, and all other coadjoint orbits are two-dimensional cylinders with generatrices parallel to the axis R epsilon R, and whose base intersection with the plane SR equals 0 are circles centered of the origin if G equals SO2, and connected parts of hyperbola when G is SO11, c'est-à-dire the two branches of hyperbola. And there are the exceptional case of hyperbola which degenerate into two crossing lines, which give four half lines. And the corresponding orbits are half planes. The Lie-Poisson bivector field can be easily calculated. It has this expression. And the canonical symplectic form on echoic bridge or joint also can be calculated easily. It is given by this formulae. And now, to look at the existence of generalized Gibbs state, one could look at the normal convergence of this integral. When G equals SA2, a change of variable using polar coordinate gives easily calculate integrable, and we see that the integral is never normally convergent because the variable LR can take all values from minus infinity to plus infinity, and since we have an exponential, it makes it diverge always. No generalized Gibbs state can exist on coadjoint orbits of the semi-direct product GR2 when G can be either SO2 or SO11. Now I will consider orbits of an affine action on the dual of its Lie algebra of the group H on the dual of it. The symplectic action of the group G times R2 admits a moment map, which is equivalent with respect to the considered action on R2 on the affine action of the group on the dual of its Lie algebra, whose linear part is the coadjoint action. For G equal SL2, I will prove that Gibbs states do exist on two-dimensional orbits of this affine action. Of course, H must be endowed with an affine Poisson structure involving a Lie group symplectic cocycle rather than its canonical Kirillov, Constant, Souriau, Lie Poisson structure. When G equals SL2, the action is given by this formulae, and when G is S11 by a similar formulae with hyperbolic sines and cosine instead of trigonometric sine and cosine. We can calculate the fundamental vector fields of this action, and we see that they are Hamiltonian, and so we have a Hamiltonian which has this expression. There is a term in which U and V appear squared with a plus sign when zeta equal 1 and minus sign when it is minus 1, and simply V and U for the other two other components. And then we can calculate the cocycle. It has this expression. And I have already said the map is equivalent with respect to the action of H on R2 and its affine action obtained by adding theta to the coadjoint action. And when G equals SO2, this affine action is given by this formula. And when G is SO1, it is given by this formula. All orbits of these affine actions are elliptic paraboloids which admit the axis R epsilon R as a revolution axis when G equals SO2. And all are hyperbolic paraboloids which admit the axis as symmetry axis, but no more revolution axis when G equal S11. So we have their equations, both when G equal SU2 and when G equal SU11, all orbits of this affine action are the same. Any one can be deduced from any other one by a translation parallel to the axis epsilon r. On one orbit, one can choose LU and LV as coordinate, and then its symplectic form is simply dLu dLv. And an element beta is a generalized temperature, if this integral is normally convergent, and an evident necessary condition is BTR equals 0, and assume that it is satisfied, one can make some change of variables, and we obtain the result that the set of generalized temperature is empty. There are no generalized Gibbs state when G equal SO11. When G equal SO2, then another change of variable leads to a different conclusion. Then Gibbs state can exist. And we can calculate the density, probability density, the partition function, the probability density, and the energy and the entropy, which are given by these values. Then now I make some final remarks about the existence. Maybe it will be more visible like this. Some final remarks about general Gibbs states. Generalized Gibbs states always exist when the considered Lie group is compact. They may exist too when the considered Lie group is not compact, but their existence should be carefully checked before developing complicated theories which use them. Jean-Marie Souriau has proven that generalized Gibbs states do not exist for the Galilei group, nor for the Poincaré group. He considered Gibbs states for one-parameter subgroups of these groups and found interesting results, notably for the behavior of a multi-component gas in a classical non-relativistic or relativistic centrifuge apparatus. However, such Gibbs states no more are generalized Gibbs states. They can be obtained as Gibbs states built with a modified Hamiltonian, which takes into account the inertial forces which occur in a moving frame. For applications in physics and cosmology, generalized Gibbs state built with the moment map of the product of the group of translations in time and the group of rotations in space seem to me the most promising. It was the group already considered by Gibbs and used by Suryo. The reason for which it is, I think, this is that we know le Kepler problem. We have exact solution of the Kepler problem, and it can be used to see whether a large number of particles which rotate in a central attracting field can arrange themselves to make planetary systems. And it was the group which was used by Suryo in his paper, in which he considered application to cosmology. The same thing for relativity is more difficult because we do not have the same thing, something like Kepler solution for the motion in a central field. It seems to me, too, that there are still progress to be made about the concept of entropy. Its use in mathematics and in physics, the concept of state of a material system, and the way in which information is lost and causes the increase of entropy. There is something very disturbing in the fact that in Gibbs statistical mechanics, the evolution of the mechanical system considered is described by the flow of a Hamiltonian vector field, and that this flow is unable to describe the evolution of the state of the system toward the state of thermodynamic equilibrium. I stand all my thanks to the organizers of the prestigious seminar Global Poisson, and especially to Professor Anton Alexeyev for offering me to present this talk. I owe my interest in generalized Gibbs states to Frederic Barbarescu, my colleague and friend Yvette Kosman-Schwarzbach always encouraged me in my work. Roger Ballion, Alain Chanciner, and Jean-Pierre Marco helped me to better understand, even if I have not yet fully understand, respectively, quantum statistical mechanics, the famous paper of Claude Shannon, and the recent works of Michel Gromov, Pierre Baudot, and Daniel Benquin about the concept of entropy. My warmest thanks to all, and all my thanks to the participants for their interest in this work. Maybe I will close the share screen now. Stop share. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Please, questions or comments, you can either unmute yourself and ask directly or raise your electronic hand. Maybe I can start. So you pointed out that so sometimes those Gibbs states exist, sometimes they do not exist, and the Gibbs states and the partition function, at least in the case of coadjoint orbits, it looks like an orbital integral. And we know that orbital integrals are related to characters by the Kirillov character formula, and they are typically in the non-compact situation, that you evoked, people say that maybe one should look at a character as some kind of distribution or a generalized function. So how is it in this case? If we don't insist on the partition function, maybe if we extend the notion, the class in which partition functions live, would it connect to the theory, to the whatever, to the Kirillov formula, to the orbital integrals? How would it look like? Do you have some opinion on that?
Oh, I think I think that the defect of the definition of generalized temperature is that it is just made so that it is possible to differentiate under the integral scene. So, of course, this is not always possible, and it should be it should be very useful to can deal with more general case, but how to do this? This is a question I don't answer. I don't know the answer. It is it should probably mathematical methods of which I am in which I am ignorant are necessary.
Thank you. Just to follow up, I would imagine, right? So you want the orbital integral to behave in a nice way, and probably I would imagine that means maybe in representation theory, this means something about the corresponding representations if they exist, right? If we think that this is some kind of character of a representation, then probably it says something. But I don't know at all how it works. Maybe some people in the audience know, but I would imagine, right, it might be saying something that the representation is nice enough or behaves, its analytic behavior. It's probably an infinite dimensional representation for of a non-compact group, and it's a kind of nice representation. But yeah, that's just an idea. I don't quite know. Possibly what I'm saying does not make sense.
Thank you for this suggestion. It is very interesting.
So more questions or comments? Maybe I have one more question. So, right, it looked like when you introduced an affine action with a cocycle, it improved the chances to have a Gibbs state. So somehow, kind of, then your integrals were better behaved. Of course, these are just examples, but is there some general intuition? Should like kind of why adding a cocycle? Why having an affine action? Why it improves the situation? Is it true, or is it like just by coincidence?
In fact, one should first study the symplectic cohomology of the algebra of the considered group, because if you add a simply constant to the moment map, it changes nothing. Just the orbits are shifted by translation, but nothing is changed. Change can occur only when the cocycle is not a coboundary. Is it true? So it is important to look at the symplectic cohomology of the Lie algebra, and then it is known, for example, that for the Poincaré group, de symplectic cohomology is trivial. So for the cone Poincaré group, it will change nothing. But for the Galilean group, there is a co-circle, and even Souriau has identified it with the mass, the total mass of the mechanical system considered. And but I have not calculated. I have no many difficulties to do calculations, and I have not tried to determine the symplectic cohomology of many groups.
If I possibly reformulate both your answer and my question, do I understand correctly? You're saying that so if the cohomology is non-trivial, then adding cocycle may have an influence on analytic behavior, right? Then it just changes the situation. If the cocycle is trivial, if it's a co-boundary, then basically it's the same integral. And that sounds very interesting. But now maybe a more detailed question. Suppose you have a non-trivial cocycle, which is not a co-boundary, then it's a different problem and it's a different integral. But do we have some intuition which of those integrals have a better chance to converge? Because I think basically when you added the cocycle, then all of a sudden you started getting quadratic polynomials in your exponential. And of course, exponentials of quadratic polynomials have a better chance to have convergent integrals than exponentials of linear functions, right? That's my maybe very wrong perception, but like very simplistic perception. So can one make some relation between, so you're saying there is a relation between this non-trivial cocycles, so which is a cohomology problem, and convergence of integrals, which is an analytic problem. That's basically where I'm heading. Can one, like, is there some way to formalize it? Because now intuitively it sounds very attractive, but so how is it? Is there some firmer basis for this? For those conclusions, or is it just for now experimental fact?
Yes, I think that it is a good idea.
Okay, thanks a lot. So any further questions or comments from participants? If not, I suggest we thank the speaker again for this very interesting talk. Thanks a lot.
Thank you to all.
So thank you very much, and thank you for all participants of today's Global Poisson, and we come back from 2 weeks from now.
Just a word, I fear to have tried to connect at 4 o'clock in France. And then I confused the time, and maybe I sent to you a message indicating
I got your message.
Unable to connect, and probably it was only because I tried to connect 1 hour before the beginning of the meeting.
Possibly, yeah. But I saw your message. Yeah, right.
It is this. I could not connect. Tried several times to reboot my computer, and even I have changed the password for Doom, and finally it was just that I confused about how. But we have had just last Sunday changing who in France.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's always confusing in the beginning, but I mean, in the end, what's important in the end, we succeeded. So you succeeded, and yeah, so it all worked very nicely. Of course, first of all, for content of the talk, but also like technology-wise. In the end, all those rectangles disappeared, so it was perfect. So thank you again,
Thank
and
you.
well.
Thank you.
Everybody, thanks for taking part in this webinar, and see you in 2 weeks from now.
Thanks very much.
Take care. Bye bye.